Well, welcome back, everybody. This is the Maine Hockey Report brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you so much for checking this out today, guys. A rare Friday night off for the Maine Mariners. Of course, no Boston Bruins on tonight, so not a better day to bring on head coach of the Maine Mariners, Mr. Rick Kowalsky. Rick, coach, thanks for being back, man. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, good to be back on. It's been a while, but lot has transpired between the last time I was on and now. So, but all good stuff.
Yeah, I would say so. Been a fun one so far. 60 games into your first season here with the Mariners. I guess I'll ask this: What's been the most enjoyable part of this? Coming to the Cross for games and practices.
Yeah, I mean there's multiple facets of it. I think just the being back in Maine and at the Cross Arena, the fan support we've got, some of the theme nights that we've done, the Pirates nights were an absolute hit, and I've talked extensively to people about this. It just had a different feel. Obviously, that was a kind of a special. Those were special nights for me as well. But I just feel we've had a lot of great moments. We've had a lot of great nights. I mean, even the other night, I talked to Adam after. I had no idea they were doing a tribute to Switch, who I remember back in the day. Like, it brought a tear to my eye. So there's been obviously a lot of great moments on the ice, but a lot of great moments off the ice for me personally, just being back here and being in the area.
Yeah, and what a horrible winter we've had.
No,
I mean, just you couldn't have picked a worse one to come back for. But where was I? I was up in Greenville, Maine yesterday. I woke up with snow on my car. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, guys. Like, it's almost April, but guess that's the life we have here in Maine. Of course, second place right now in the division. 12 games to go, only 4 points behind Wheeling, a Wheeling team that felt like they were just running away and taking off. You have a game in hand as well. So I guess I'll ask it this way, Coach. Is it more important to chase down first place? Are you more concentrated on locking up a first round home ice series?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I, talking to the team, addressing the team, kind of, you go on a week by week basis after a day off, and you reset depending on your time and your schedule and your practice, what you have planned for practice. But I've always tried to set kind of short-term goals for this group, and sometimes it's kind of the short-term goal within the goal. And if you go back to that long road trip where we were going down to Florida, they're a top team in the league, focusing on that, but knowing that was also the start of a road trip. So my point is we've really just, and I know it's a cliche, but our guys have done a really good job of living in the present. And if it's our focus this weekend, Greensboro, team we hasn't seen, team that's eliminated. So now we've kind of shifted gears. Some of those weekends against Adirondack, or whether travel was involved. So just trying to focus on that stuff. And to be honest with you, Ben, we have not talked about standings other than just recently. And that kind of leads off of the point I just brought up. Guys are so focused game to game, weekend to weekend at the task at hand, and have done a really good job. The only real thing we've addressed as a coaching staff is, okay, we're playing somebody we want to keep below us, or we're playing somebody that we want to gain on. And that's been the only talk of standings. With that being said, I just brought it up last week that the credit to the players and the team, what they've done, they've put themselves and they've earned the right to potentially win the division here. So to kind of what you said at the beginning, if we would have had this conversation 3-4 months ago, I would have thought no one had a chance to catch Wheeling at all. Yeah. And now it's attainable. They are healthy and have guys back and are loading up for the playoffs, as everybody is right now. So I guess to your original question, where our focus is on getting that magic number down and getting it locked up. But there's also a couple things we're still chasing someone, and we're still being chased. So that message that I talk doesn't change, but it would certainly be nice to have a chance or put ourselves towards the end of the season in a position to win the division.
Yeah, great. I love the fact that the guys are just so dialed in, day in and day out, that they're not looking at the standings. And yeah, it is a little cliche, but I kind of believe it with the way these guys play and the way they come out every night. You mentioned February, and wow, that's a road trip. I mean, just impressive, Coach. Very impressive. Of course, you go through Florida, go up to Bloomington, you come back to the Northeast. Was there some sort of trigger that happened? You lose that first one in Florida, and then all of a sudden, boom, you guys take off.
Yeah, what's funny is people ask me that, and during the whole stretch, you talk about the weather. I mean, we also had major travel issues, which, again, I give the team credit, I give the leadership credit, I give just the group overall so much credit for getting through that. I mean, you go from down to Florida, where we were excited to go, and I had to keep reminding guys it was a business trip. The weather was absolutely perfect. Guys were able to enjoy a little bit of time away from the rink. The first night we're just okay, but they're a pretty good team. And then we come back and have two hard fought close games. I think it was 1-0 in overtime and 2-1 in a shootout. RV plays unbelievable, actually, all three games. And then we head home just for a quick tag up, and we have like a 3 a.m. bus that leaves for the airport on like the Tuesday or Wednesday after we get back, whatever it was. We head out to Bloomington. No disrespect to anybody from the Midwest, but certainly not comparable to Fort Myers, Florida. So we get out there again, face it. Now you're playing 6 games against two teams you haven't seen all year. And the guys went out there and executed a game plan. We had 5D. We lost Loki Johansson on the trip. Couldn't get any D out there, and kind of in the middle of nowhere. And we sweep them in their building. And then before the end of game 3, we find out that our flight's canceled. And we had a coaches meeting in the lobby bar with Keels to try and figure out our travel plans. And we literally were like, all joking aside, it was planes, trains, and automobile. Keels is like, trains? I'm like, we have to get back out east. The only flight we had was Thursday right into Albany, which would have brought us to Glens Falls, but we didn't have our gear. So the gear was shipped back. It's a crazy story. Like, everything that could have kind of went wrong after that as far as travel. So sure enough, the guys sucked it up, and we took 3 days to bus back, and we go right into the jungle there in Glens Falls, and we win. And finished it off in Worcester. I think it was 7 in a row at that point, and then came home and won. And to be honest, maybe that was a blessing in disguise by being on the road. I definitely think there was a little click there, just in how well guys were playing, not only as a unit, but individually. And again, we've kind of said this all year, but I really felt during that stretch, we had different guys stepping up each game. And, when you have that, we've talked about depth. I've talked about depth all year, but when you can have, I think in Bloomington, the fourth line had 2 goals one night. Like, it wasn't the same cast of characters helping you win games. And, RV went on a tear during that stretch. So it was, that was certainly the dog kind of that we're coming out of it now, the dog days of the season, and it could have went the other way real easy for us. And the guys have, to be honest with you, Ben, have kind of been just riding that ever since.
I love the fact that we don't have to rely on one line or one player. I kind of, as you were talking, I was thinking about Edmonton and how often the Oilers, for as good as they are, they all kind of sit back and wait for Connor to do something, right? Or Leon to do something. And I know I'm not going to Oilers and Maine. I'm not comparing the two, but it's just nice that we don't have that problem here, because we do have. I mean, sometimes I look at the lines before we go on the air, and I'm like, Mike, our third line could be a first line. This is great. This is really a good problem to have here. So, and I think Mike definitely earned his money on that trip.
Yes, he did. He did an excellent job.
No, that's great. That's great. You mentioned Greensboro, of course, coming into town this weekend for Saturday afternoon. It is a 2:07 start. I've been getting seeing a lot of social media people confused by that one. Then 3 p.m. on Sunday. But our first look at Greensboro, rough year for them. What should we expect? I mean, they're out of the playoffs. What kind of fight are they going to have? We don't want to sit back on our heels. But how do you prepare for this?
Well, I like I told the guys today, we've maybe struggled a little bit against that first game against unfamiliar teams. They're a unique situation. They've moved a lot of their veterans and top scorers to try to bring in young guys or create some space to maybe build a foundation for next year. But those teams, they're eliminated from the playoffs, so they can play carefree hockey, which can be dangerous. We dealt with that with Norfolk. They can play loose. They're not afraid to make mistakes. And sometimes that can frustrate you, which I felt like it did at Norfolk, because you feel like, we know we're a better team. We know we should be, these are points we should grab. And you almost feel a little bit of that tension, as opposed to just relax, play our game, establish our game right away, and really and that was the message today. Let these guys know it's going to be a long weekend right from the drop of the puck. And I think our Friday night starts. I mean, I know I won't say Friday night, but that first game after a bit of a break I used the term, and I said this to the guy, we have a tendency to kind of dip our toe in the water, see what type of game it is, or a feeling out process. We had it a bit with Orlando as well, as opposed to just coming in and dictating the play and kind of imposing our will, knowing we have depth. We're getting some D back now, and just coming at them wave after wave and showing them kind of why we've had success in what we just talked about, the depth we have.
4 gettable points for sure for the group. No question about that. Yes, injuries, defensive blue line injuries, Coach. Holy mother of what? I mean, there have been some weekends where it's like, do I have to go out and get my skates on to play D tonight? Like, what's happening here? But I guess I'll say this. You've done a great job of managing this. What's been the secret, though, to managing all this movement and keeping the success level up?
It's been stressful, I'll tell you that. It's been a lot of those off days, or when you think you finally got some breathing room, something happens and you're scrambling to find players. Zach Tolkinen and Brandon Crumpsmead, my assistants, have done a great job researching players, watching video when we're trying to bring guys in. To be honest with you, it all kind of started on this road trip. We came out of Florida fairly unscathed, and we actually got reinforcements in Colin Felix, who we thought there was potential for him to come down at some point this year. He was down earlier in the year, but he's a really good player at this level. He plays hard. He can give us good defensive minutes. And we go into Bloomington, and Loki Johansson hurts his hamstring in game 1, I believe, second period. And we're down to 5D. And we couldn't find anybody anywhere. And we were able to stay like that, get a little bit of help back. Then the college season ends. We got Matt Anderson back in the mix when we came back. We've lost him since then. Loki Johansson tried to come back, didn't work out. And then we lose Felix. So we have been really going back to the Orlando series, which I don't even know, that might've been the end of January. We've been, kind of treading thin ice with 6D and making 5D work maybe, on a Saturday when we don't play for another 4 or 5 days. You can manage it, especially at home. You get last change and stuff like that. But we've been lucky to kind of, come out unscathed on a lot of it, and it's caught up to us recently. in the sense that, we've had to bring in a couple college kids who have done a good job, and now even one of them has gotten hurt. So the good news is Zach Massacott is good and ready to go. Had a great week of practice this week. And he's primed. Like, this guy is chomping at the bit to play. So he's a huge add for us, brings us leadership, again, adds to our length, which we probably were the longest D at one point, and now a lot of those guys are on the IR. Unfortunately, Brandon Chabrier is left the game on Sunday, and he's going to be a while yet. So Andrew Nielsen is close. Could have been a possibility this weekend, but I think we want to be careful, but most likely Wednesday. So certainly signs of some of the big boys, for lack of a better word, coming back. But the guys that have been in here, the Gallatin and Bellamy and Underwood have just been horses for us. And, this is what's been, you talked about what's been rewarding. Like, Jackson Bellamy, when I got the job, we were questioning where he would fit in the lineup. Obviously you got your board in the summer, and you have potential guys from Providence, and we were looking at him as a potential 6-7 that might be in and out of the lineup depending on how he pans out. Was coming off a knee injury. Gallatin I got in a trade basically for nothing from Fort Wayne, and then Underwood was basically a present after Christmas, because he was sitting on the shelf, and the timing of it was perfect. So those guys have done an unbelievable job kind of holding the fort down with the addition of, Loki's played really well in there, but been hurt. And then obviously Felix coming in, has done a great job for us. And then again, Tynan Ewart has come in. Shabs gave us some good minutes. So it's been, Nick Anderson's been in and out, but he's played really well for us as well. He's back out again, unfortunately. And, it's funny, probably 3 weeks ago or maybe longer, we were like, what are we going to do when all these D are back? But we haven't seen that happen yet. So, but again, credit to the guys. Those three in particular have just been anchors for us back there.
Such good news about Mass being able to come back this week, and it'll be so good to see him out there. And I'm sure the team will really rally around him being back on the ice. Of course, another big guy that has not hit the ice yet, your captain, Willem DeVoe, of course, missing him since game 1. Of course, he's been around the club, doing the rehab. Talk about your captain, just the impact he's been able to make, even though he's not playing.
Yeah, I think he's done a really good job of still having that captain presence, but not being over the top with it. You know what I mean? Like letting the guys that are play do the talking in the room. Yeah, Devo's probably gone in there a couple times when it's been a tough situation or a loss. Kind of maybe just to wake the guys up and stuff like that. But he's managed to still be the captain without being on the ice, and keeping the leaders that are here, on course and on par. And it's, you feel bad for those guys. We go on those road trips, and I've been in that situation as a player. I've been in that situation as an assistant captain and a captain at times, and you just want to be with the team so bad. They come back from a hard-fought road trip, and you're just chomping at the bit to get on the ice, and you're not really part of it, and it's tough. But he's done a good job, and with him and Mass being on the ice this past week, it's brought a probably real good timing to a renewed energy in this group. Our guys have been good, but like I said, we've played a lot of hockey. We've been on the road. It's been, there's light at the end of the tunnel now, and then you inject some of this energy into practice, and it's like, wow, guys are excited. But more importantly, he's looked really good. He's skating well. He's got one final doctor appointment, fingers crossed. I believe. I spoke with him today. I think it's around April 4th. But he's cleared for contact right now. So
Good.
he'll get the shoulder looked at. And if everything is good come that date, we're going to try and get him as many games as we can without kind of pushing him too hard, realizing, he's basically played one period of hockey this year.
Yeah, with the forward depth you have, you can get away with that. At the end of the year, you can kind of intermix him into really any line and any combination, and get him the reps and get him ready for the playoffs. So that's awesome. Awesome news.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers, bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026 NHL. All rights reserved.
When I first talked to you this summer, of course, you discussed how you were looking forward to this challenge of having a GM role. I think for the first time in your career. What's that experience been like for you, and are you enjoying it? Has it been fun?
It's been very fun, very enjoyable. But also to the point I just brought up, when you're scrambling, it's a little more stressful to find players. There's been some frustrating phone calls and trying to get some guys in here. I won't even get into that. But what I've enjoyed about it is, the Zach Jordan deal, the Antonio Venuto deal, like looking at our team that was kind of struggling leading in to the holiday break, and then obviously the strike. We come out of the strike, we go into Adirondack, and I felt we got bullied a little bit is maybe a strong word, but just pushed around in the sense that we weren't winning enough battles, and they were dictating the physical play. Obviously the Amesbury effect, had a bit of a toll on us for a while, but again, that Felix kind of initiated that with a clean hit. And I just felt we needed to get bigger and heavier in order to play the type of style I wanted to play and to add to our depth. We felt we had good speed. We felt we had enough skill. But our bottom six was Caden Villegas and Ben Raymond, and they did a good job. They helped us win games. Alex DePaulo, and I wanted more personality. Obviously, the loss of Shovel Day off during that whole stretch hurt us. Sean Element as well. Right. I don't think any of that stuff would have, some of those games would have been a little different in how they were played out with those two guys in the lineup.
Sure.
And then the Jordan thing came up. I mean, McCallum is a good player that can score, but we felt we had enough of that. And I know Jordan can also score. He's got an unbelievable shot, but he's a big man who can really skate. So he added to our size, he added to our team speed, and also added to our depth. And Venuto was the same thing. He's a net front guy. They're both willing to go to the hard areas. They're good along the walls. They're heavy on pucks. Again, neither one of them overly physical, but have a intimidating presence in the way they skate and can forecheck. And they will get stiff on forechecks as well. So those two deals able to do, I remember I made both deals just going into that Reading weekend, and we went down and took 5 out of 6 points. And really, since I don't know what our record is since they've showed up, but those two guys in particular,
it's really good.
yeah. Yes. But those are also the type of guys, when you go on the road and you have that grind, they play the right way, they play direct, and they can pull other guys into the fight. They have played, both of them have played everywhere from the first line to the fourth line. So going back to your point, that's what I envisioned along, at the beginning of building this team. So that's been really enjoyable. And then, we've kind of been working on some free agents. We've lost out on a couple of them here. But we were able to land one from U Sports, the leading scorer in the country, Ben Allison. So putting the time into that, and gives us a left shot, 6'2", had 50 points in 23 games. So that's rewarding, when you kind of are able to do that. And bring some guys in. McGuire was another depth piece. So
sure,
just looking at this, coming down to the deadline and knowing college free agency, what do we need? Talking with my staff, it's a little extra work, but it's rewarding for sure. Being able to kind of put my stamp on the team.
It's like the old Bill Parcells, give me the ingredients if I'm going to cook, right? Let me get my own ingredients in here. It's so funny you bring up McCollum, because when he was traded here last year for Patty Gay, Patty Gay is a really good player, but wasn't fitting in the system we had here. McCollum came in and was lights out.
Yeah.
This year, little up and down, didn't quite fit, to your point. And you bring in, Jordan Venuto, just seamless fit. So just funny how year to year, guys will fit or guys won't fit. And so just kudos to you for that work. And, Mike and I have talked about this with every move. It seems like guys just kind of slide in and fit right into the culture, fit into the system. It's been a real pleasure to see.
Yeah. Well, part of that, to your point, is, a big thing for me is doing the research on the character of the kid and really getting a good background on that first, knowing the person and the man before we dive into the player. And then from there, you realize, do they fit into how we play, which obviously those guys all do. And then as far as assimilating into the group, I think that says a lot about the guys here, the character we have. We talked about Willem DeVoe, but Vidmar and Hudson and, even Jackson Bellamy has emerged. It's a close knit group. And, it is, I think when guys come in, they see that from different organizations and, are able to really enjoy playing here. And some guys don't know much about Maine, and they get here and they see the rink, they see the crowds, they go to restaurants downtown and for me, what's been kind of unique a little bit about this whole situation, and this isn't about, patting anybody on the back, but when we've had to make tough decisions, and we may still have to, and we've let guys go, they cannot thank us enough and appreciate how they were treated, and, think we're doing things the right way here. So, when I had a lot of these conversations with Dexter in the interview process about, trying to create a culture, and I think we've taken steps towards that. With the people we've brought in, but also how we've treated the people that have moved on from here. And I think that goes a long way when it comes to recruiting, because not that I didn't know it, but now that I'm, 4 months into this, some of your biggest recruiting tools are the players that have played here or are currently playing here.
Well, one guy we haven't talked about yet, Brooklyn Kalmikov, of course, up in Providence right now, having another just phenomenal season, 55 points in 58 games, getting that taste right now in the A, 24 years old. What, in your opinion, does he have to do to stick in the American League? And do you think he's got an NHL shot, perhaps?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's earned it. The beginning of the year, he's one of those guys that when he's on, the puck finds him. I think a couple of those Worcester series at the beginning of the year, I think he had like 7 points in 3 games, had some chemistry with, I believe he was playing with Max and maybe Huddy then, or Max and JP. Obviously a power play guy. And then he kind of went cold and stagnant for a while, and just talking to him and watching his game. I think, some of those guys, when they're not scoring, they tend to go play a little bit more on the perimeter where they know they're going to get pucks, where I've been talking to him and on him about going to have to develop more of an inside game. And he's not, he looks slight, but he's pretty strong, and he's got what I call hockey strength, and he's very shifty, very good on his edges. And just getting him to try and, drive again. Is he going to drive the net like Zach Jordan or Max Andreoff? No, but there is times when he's going to have to get to the net and get inside. And I think when he was struggling at points this year, that was a big part. And it 5-on-5 tend to lead into the power play as well, or vice versa. And, he wasn't shooting the puck on the power play. He wasn't putting himself in a good place to shoot the puck. And I think he just lost confidence. And then he went through a stretch where he was getting a ton of chances and he couldn't score to save his life. Right. But for me, I don't really, to be honest, I probably go back to that road trip a little bit again, where I just felt his staying on pucks and getting in on the forecheck and winning battles and coming out of battles and creating separation. I think that's been building the last little bit into his game to where he's been go a couple weeks ago, he was the best player. We say it in the coaching room all the time. He's the best player on the ice for both teams. And it's not just because he's scoring. It's he wants the puck. I showed a clip today. He's not here. And I'm like, you think this guy wants the puck? He goes in the corner. He digs it out. He wins a battle. He rounds our net. He moves it to Gallatin. He takes off. Gallatin's got no choice to give it back to him. He kicks it out to Max. Max kicks it out to Jordan, and next thing you know, Nine's going to the net for a partial breakaway. I'm like, guys, this is what I mean by wanting the puck. This guy wants the puck. And it's not about, hey, I'm going to grab it and take it end to end, which he has the ability to do. But I felt like the Reading game was a good example. They did a good job of checking, and he probably tried to do a little too much with the puck. But when he lost it, he stopped and was like, I'm getting it back. And that to me is the step he has to take to be a regular in the American League. I have conveyed this to the Providence guys between us. I mean, this is public, but I think Ryan Mujanel has really started to see it. And he played the other night. Both games that he's played, they really liked his game. And I think it's just those little things of being harder on the puck, harder to get the puck off of, because I honestly believe Cali is a guy that can play at the American League level. But once again, he has to be trusted by the coach to play in a top 6, top 9 role. Yeah. He needs to play with good players. He can't go up there and play on a fourth line there where you're playing with potentially a tough guy or a mucker in order to really show his skills. So to get that trust defensively, getting pucks out, winning pucks on the wall, getting to the net, checking the right way. But before the first call up, he was great. He came back, didn't miss a beat. Obviously had a couple goals, which boosted his confidence. And then goes right back up. So we'll see. Right now, he's still there. I hope he gets some games this weekend. I believe they play tomorrow, and not sure what the plan is moving forward. But I think he's certainly put himself on the map. As far as the NHL, that's another step. He's going to have to establish himself at the American League level first.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of your heart pulls, you want him to be successful, but we miss him, we'd love to have him here too. So that is the life of minor league hockey, minor league sports. One thing I've noticed, and something Mike and I have talked about throughout the year, is your third periods the team seems to get better as games go on. Third period tends to be your best period. If I were to tell you or say the statement, the Mariners are the best cardio team in the ECHL, how would you answer that?
That I'd like to think we don't do a ton. Certainly, this time of year, you don't do a ton of on ice conditioning. I think at the beginning of the year, we had some skates, but I like to think that the way we structure our practice and the pace and the compete, that's where you build your conditioning. And I think I've always taken pride in that as a coach. And I've always told the players, you guys determine sometimes how long practice goes. Like if I feel good that, we're moving, we're executing, we're competing, and guys are breathing heavy, then maybe you get rid of the last drill. And if they're not, maybe you add a drill that sometimes they weren't expecting. Like, oh, we play tomorrow. We're gonna battle like this, but hey, let's get it out now. But I think it's so important that's where you get better. Not only from a conditioning standpoint, but from a compete standpoint. And I've been a big believer that you can win games at any level by your practice habits, because they carry over into a game.
I'll move on to the Adirondack. The last time we played Adirondack at home, I mean, I just felt like we were skating circles around them at the end of those games, and they were tight games. But I think that's where the comment came up, like, oh, well, we're almost as physical as them, and we can outskate them too. Yeah. So that's nice to see.
Not to interrupt you too, Ben, and I've said this to the guys all year, and it's been a theme and a message. Again, going back to the depth, I don't know that there's a team in the league that we've seen, maybe the Florida series, that plays four lines as much as I do. And there's nights that I shorten the bench, or there's nights that maybe you don't trust some guys and make some adjustments, or it's a tight game, or you need a goal. But for the most part, I certainly top six for sure, but our top nine for sure played just as much, if not more than anybody. But I've really emphasized that when we're playing the right way and our depth is where we think it can be, can pretty much roll four lines. I don't match up a ton, and I do that almost to let guys know, I trust them, and you can play against anybody. And like I said, I think that might be a little bit of a testament to it, because there are some teams that play their top two a bunch, top three, and sometimes the fourth line doesn't get out there much at all. So if I can, like, take Reading, for example, their fourth line, they played kind of half of it. Sometimes they never had all three of them out there together. And if I have no problem playing my fourth line against their top three, that means, our top six guys are going out potentially against their fourth line, because he's got to get them out there, especially if the flow of the game is not a lot of penalties. I think those games, to be honest with you, suit us best.
Haven't really talked much about goaltending. You mentioned, Brad, through that Florida trip, Cowlin's looked good. He's been up at Providence, played well there. But Arvanitis, 19 wins, 2.11 goals against, .930 save percentage. Coach, what has stood out about his play this year?
I've just seen him improve in some areas from the beginning of the season. Rebound control is one of them. Obviously that's a huge attribute for a good goaltender. Tracking the puck has been, I go back to that Florida series. They really get, as skilled as they are, they get pucks to the net. They get a lot of traffic there. And that's where I really noticed him being able to locate the puck through traffic. Obviously the rebound control comes into that.
Sure.
And then off of that tracking, just the anticipation of the play. Like we've had some breakdowns where he's made some unbelievable saves where, Bloomington, I think there was a 2-on-0 or a guy backdoor and he gets across and saves it. So a little bit of the tracking, a little bit of the hockey sense for a goaltender of anticipating what the play is. And then for me, just the compete. And to be honest with you, I know last year he might have played some hockey, but during that stretch when Cav was gone, I mean, he was limping back to the room. There was a couple games where I'm like, I didn't. One part of me said, how can you not want to play every game right now? Like you're, you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
it's like a goal scorer that's playing well and creating a bunch of chances and scoring every night. Like you couldn't keep me out. And he, I just don't know that he'd been through that. And, some of those games were really hard games. And he had busy nights, and then other ones weren't too bad, but we were worried about wear and tear. And there was a couple times where we're like, okay, let's see how we are in the morning. And we were able to get, 2 solid games during that stretch, out of Billy Gerard, which again,
Right.
it's just a credit to the guys and to him and the camaraderie of the team and how hard they played for him. And he did a good job for us when Arby needed a rest. But, those 3 things I just talked about, the tracking of the puck, the compete, the anticipation, the rebound control. I've really seen that dialed in for him. And, he's been just outstanding for us.
And we know last year, he was sitting behind 2 AHL goaltenders and went long stretches without playing. So I know us Mariner fans is just so happy for him to not only see him getting the opportunity, but playing as well as he has so far this year has just been phenomenal. A couple more for you, Coach. And again, thank you so much for taking this time. Again, you could be doing anything with your Friday, and here you are talking to this idiot. But, we talk about, we knew this was coming, that Bridgesport, we know now in the AHL, moving on to Hamilton, Ontario, your former employer. Just share a little bit about your experience there in Bridgeport with the city and the fan base.
Yeah, obviously it ended real tough. My first year, I went in there. It was coming out of not being renewed by New Jersey. COVID was a mess. Kind of coming out of that. Had been in contact with Chris Lamorello, who was my former boss in Albany, and he keeps his cards pretty close to the vest, and had kind of said, he knew I was looking, and I was entertaining some assistant jobs, some development jobs, even looking at some scouting stuff, and he's like, we might have something might come up here, and their season ended. They decided to make a change and let the 2 assistants go, keeping Brent Thompson on as head coach, and then had called me and asked if I would be interested in coming into Bridgeport as an assistant coach, and wanted me to talk to Brent, who I had coached against for many years in the league, and played against in the American League a little bit when I was here in Portland. Fierce competitor. Very, very mean defenseman, to say the least. And we had met before, but there was no commonality where we were picking up the phone or, meeting for a coffee before they came to chat, like you might be with some of your former teammates and stuff. And it was at that point, I think it was, late June into July. I had a few irons in the fire, and I just had one conversation with Brent, and we kind of hit it off, and he asked me some things philosophy, hockey wise, and I think he liked the fact that he was liked the fact that they were going to go back to a 2-man system, and with 2 guys it was really essentially head and associate. Mm-hmm. And I think it fit for Chris. I think it fit for Brent, and we went there and we had a good team. They were coming out of COVID. We had some veteran guys. There was some of the draft picks that were still trying to make it, but had established in the league. And we made the playoffs, had Corey Schneider in net, beat Providence in the first round, and lost to a good Charlotte team in the second. Next year, we lose some guys, don't replace them, and it was just kind of a domino effect. I end up getting the head job, and I'd lost my 2 leading scorers from the year before, and it just kind of snowballed. So it was frustrating that way. The facility would rival NHL teams internally. Yeah. It's funny. I just talked to Chris Lamorello the other day, and I just can't believe that dressing room is going to sit there empty. They put a lot of money into it. the Islanders did, and it is first class all the way. It's got all the amenities, private wet rooms, sauna, sliding frosted doors. Like, it's lounge. It's built for a full kitchen where they can cook in there, but just top notch all the way. Dressing rooms, beautiful, everything. Fan wise, I think attendance had been deteriorating. Obviously, having a frustrating year like we did last year, or my last year there, and it like I said, it kind of been a slow decline. Was hurt attendance. I know going back, we were talking prior about the Friday dates. Like, we never played in Bridgesport, and so I think from a marketing standpoint and sales, they had some things that they were still trying to figure out what really worked. The 95 corridor, if you know the area, it's a busy area with traffic, so they were always tinkering with. But there's a ton of hockey in the area. There's a ton of great youth hockey. We had some big crowds when we went to the playoffs my first year. They opened the ferry up for the Islander fans. So it was unbelievable. We had about 8,000 people in there, and a whole section of Islander fans with the drums. So I think there's a market there. Beyond me, no one seems to know why or how they're moving to where they are, other than it's a corporate deal. My phones, I've known about it for a while. It wasn't confirmed. But it kind of was. And then when the announcement came up, I got all kinds of people talking, because I'm from 40 minutes from Hamilton. So they're like, oh my God, if you were still coaching the team. And I'm like,
come right back.
It's I enjoyed my time there. The guys live on the beach in Milford, Connecticut, in off-season rental, beautiful places. Again, much like Milford, kind of like Maine here, they got a lot of nice little restaurants and stuff. Our travel was just cake. I mean, Springfield's Hartford's an hour, Springfield's an hour and 20, Providence is 2 hours. You know, you go down to Lehigh, which is 4. You go Lehigh, Hershey, and make a swing back. So other than a trip up to Toronto once in a while, and Syracuse, Utica. So, other than obviously wins and losses, and especially that last year was real tough. I enjoyed my time there, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I had worked with a lot of good staff and players there as well.
Yeah, always tough to see such a great barn, like you said. How are they going to let that just sit empty? You hope that the American League, or even maybe the ECHL team, can make a return back to the city. That would be awesome to see. Well, last question for you. Of course, we're this close to locking in a playoff spot. I know fans, I talk to a lot of fans, they feel like, 7 years in, this is probably the best version of the Maine Mariners that we've seen so far. What are your expectations as we get ready? I know we still got 12 games to go. Not putting the cart in front of the horse, but as you get into that playoff season, what are your expectations?
To be honest with you, going back to my earlier point, I think you just you attack it one day at a time, knowing that, and not to let the cat out of the bag here, but the message to this team when the dust settles and we start, game one of round one is, who haven't we beat? And it starts with your division, obviously, and it's been tight all year. But we should certainly feel confident. And I think, I hear some rumblings, hear the guys talk. I think it's gone from, since that road trip, it's gone from, we're a good team, we got a chance to, fight for a playoff spot, into now, like we talked about, potentially winning the division home ice through the first 2 rounds or more, into, we got something special going here. And this is an opportunity that, you may not get every year. And I think you're starting to get, I think the players are starting to feel that. And I think all of us, just kind of what we've been through, there's still a big chunk of schedule here. So we got to stay focused on that. But the conversation has shifted a little bit to, hey, and that's what I told them today, like some of the video and some of the stuff in practice, at this point, we're just fine tuning game to game, week to week to get ready for game 73, essentially. And I think that the thought process of that, and as the weeks tick by here, and knock on wood, the weather starts to look like playoff weather. There's no more snow. No more snow.
Right.
I've had enough. I just think the excitement within the team in the room is continuing to grow in anticipation of potentially, hosting game 1 here at the Cross.
That would be a sight for sore eyes for sure. I cannot wait. I can't wait to see what we see this weekend with those 2 games against Greensboro. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time. I genuinely appreciate it. And thank you all for watching, listening. Don't forget those like and subscribe buttons here on the YouTube channel. Mean a lot to me. Go get those tickets if you haven't done so. And don't forget, you can hear Mike's call on Flow Hockey TV or on the Mixler app. I do believe I'll be back with him on Saturday afternoon. Until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.